The night was thick with silence as Emily pulled her car into the dimly lit gas station. The air was cold, and the flickering neon sign above the pumps buzzed faintly, casting an eerie glow on the cracked asphalt. She glanced around. The place looked abandoned, or at least forgotten. Just one gas pump working, and no other cars in sight. Her road trip had been long, and she needed a quick break before the last stretch home. Emily stepped out of the car, the gravel crunching beneath her boots. She walked briskly toward the convenience store, the dull light barely pushing back the heavy darkness. From the corner of her eye, she caught movement, a shadow shifting behind the rusted metal barrels stacked near the old fuel tanks. A man, standing just out of clear view, his face obscured by shadows. He didn't approach or say a word. He simply watched. Her skin prickled with unease, but she forced herself to ignore it. After filling her tank and grabbing a bottle of water inside, Emily hurried back to her car, her heart pounding slightly faster than usual. She locked the doors behind her, started the engine, and pulled away, eager to put distance between herself and that lonely gas station. But as she drove down the deserted road, headlights appeared behind her in the rearview mirror. A car, far too close, no matter how fast she accelerated. She blinked, trying to convince herself it was a coincidence. Maybe someone else was just heading in the same direction. But as she took a sharp turn onto a narrow country lane, the car followed, perfectly matching every move. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She turned again, weaving through smaller, twisting roads surrounded by dense trees, hoping to lose whoever was behind her. But the headlights remained, glowing relentlessly in the mirror. Panic began to build, cold and sharp in her chest. Minutes passed like hours. Then, abruptly, the lights vanished. Emily slowed, eyes darting nervously through the windshield. Had she escaped? She wasn't sure. Shaken, she pressed on, finally reaching the safety of her quiet neighborhood as the first hints of dawn crept over the horizon. Her house loomed ahead, a fragile barrier between her and the darkness outside. She parked, heart still hammering, and hurried inside. But just as she began to calm, a sharp knock echoed from the back door. Emily froze. Outside, the night held its breath. The shadow was back. The night was cold and heavy as Sarah stepped out of the university library, the glow from the campus lights fading behind her. Her backpack felt heavier than usual, loaded with textbooks and notes from hours of studying. The streets were nearly empty, save for the occasional distant car or the faint rustle of wind through the cracked sidewalks. She was used to walking this route alone, but tonight something felt different. Halfway home, beneath a flickering, broken streetlight, she noticed him, a man standing still in the shadows, wearing a dark hoodie pulled low over his face. At first, Sarah told herself it was just a coincidence. Maybe he was waiting for someone or simply passing time. She glanced away, quickening her pace. But then she felt it, the slow, deliberate sound of footsteps behind her. She glanced back. The man in the hoodie was moving, but not fast, just walking. Not running, not chasing, just keeping pace. Sarah's heartbeat quickened. She tried to ignore him, but the sense of being watched became impossible to shake. She turned corners sharply, hoping to lose him among the silent streets, but each time she stopped or changed direction, he was there, unwavering, silent, never blinking, never speaking. His eyes seemed fixed on her, empty and unblinking, as if he was studying her every move. Sarah's mind raced. Was he dangerous? What did he want? She debated calling someone, but her phone felt useless in her trembling hands. The city's dim streetlights offered little comfort, only casting long shadows that danced along the pavement like ghosts. The walk stretched longer than usual. Each step was heavy with dread. Finally, she reached her apartment building, its familiar outline a small beacon of safety. She sprinted to the door, fingers fumbling with her keys, desperate to get inside. When she finally slipped through the threshold and locked the door behind her, she dared to breathe again. But as she leaned against the door, heart pounding, she caught movement through the window. The figure stood just across the street, under another broken streetlight. The man in the hoodie was still there, watching. Waiting. And the nightmare was far from over. The clock on the wall ticked toward midnight as Mark finished his shift at the factory. The parking lot outside was bathed in cold moonlight, the pale glow casting long shadows between the rows of empty cars. The air was still, save for the faint rustling of leaves from the dark woods bordering the lot. As Mark slid into his car, relief washed over him. Soon he'd be home, in the warmth and safety of his apartment. But just as he started the engine, a soft, familiar voice whispered his name from the edge of the trees. Mark. He froze, heart pounding. It sounded exactly like Sarah, his girlfriend, who was supposed to be asleep at home hours ago. He scanned the edge of the woods, but saw nothing. Only the dark, motionless trees standing like silent sentinels. Sarah, he called hesitantly, his voice trembling. Only the wind answered. Unease settled deep in Mark's chest as he pulled out of the lot. The voice called again, clear and sweet, repeating his name with perfect inflection. He blinked. The voice seemed to come from all around him, from the trees, the shadows, the night itself. It followed him like a haunting echo as he drove through the empty streets toward home. When he reached his apartment, Mark's hands shook as he unlocked the door. He told himself it was his imagination, some trick of fatigue and loneliness. But then, hours later, as the apartment lay dark and silent, the voice returned. Outside his bedroom window, soft and chilling, the same voice whispered his name. Mark. He pulled the curtains shut, heart racing, mind desperate for an explanation. Was it Sarah? Or something else? Something that could mimic her perfectly, a dark presence lurking just beyond the glass, waiting. The air grew thick, heavy with fear. Mark realized he wasn't just hearing a voice, he was being hunted by a shadow that wore the face of someone he loved. And in the night, there was no escape from the thing that mimicked his voice. The city lights blurred past as Jason finished his late-night rideshare shift. His car hummed quietly on the empty highway, the soft glow of the dashboard the only illumination inside the vehicle. He was eager to get home, finally off the road after hours of ferrying strangers through the sleeping city. Suddenly, his phone buzzed with a new ride request, but there was something wrong. The app showed a trip assigned to him that he never accepted. Confused, Jason pulled over to check the screen, fingers tapping frantically as he tried to cancel the unexpected ride. Before he could react, he heard a soft but deliberate click from the back seat. His heart leapt. Slowly, he glanced in the rearview mirror. The back door handle rattled, as if someone was trying to open it. Jason's breath hitched. He locked the doors instantly and slammed his foot on the accelerator, peeling away from the curb faster than he intended. His pulse thudded loud in his ears. He told himself it was probably a prank, someone messing with the app or the car. Relief washed over him as the rattling stopped and silence returned. He was almost home. But then came the soft, unmistakable click of a seatbelt fastening behind him. Jason's eyes darted to the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. The air inside the car grew thick, cold, as if a shadow had settled around him. The radio crackled, briefly filling with static. The app on his phone flickered, showing the mysterious ride still active, but the destination was nowhere he recognized. His hands gripped the wheel tighter. He tried to start the car again, but the engine sputtered and died, leaving him stranded in the middle of the road, alone, or so he thought. The back door creaked slowly, though he had locked it. A chilling silence followed, broken only by the faint whisper of a voice, barely audible. "Where are we going?" Jason's head whipped around. No one was there. But the passenger he never picked up had arrived. And this was no ordinary ride. The clock struck 3 as the storm raged outside, rain hammering the pavement like a relentless drum. For 7 nights straight, Emma had seen the same unsettling figure, a woman in a bright yellow raincoat, standing motionless at the corner of her quiet suburban street. Always the same time, always the same place. The figure never moved, never blinked, like a statue carved from the night itself. Tonight was no different, at least, at first. Emma hurried down the drenched sidewalk, her umbrella barely shielding her from the cold sheets of rain. The streetlights flickered through the downpour, casting eerie shadows on the slick pavement. She glanced nervously toward the corner where the yellow raincoat usually stood, but the figure was gone. A chill ran down her spine. She quickened her pace, the soft splash of her boots the only sound besides the rain. Suddenly, another sound joined hers, footsteps, splashing in perfect sync behind her. Emma's breath caught. She dared not look back, fearing what she might see. Her heart pounded louder than the storm as she raced the last few blocks home, the footsteps relentless and steady, matching every step she took. The street seemed to stretch endlessly, the shadows growing thicker, heavier. At last, she reached her front door, fumbling with the keys in her shaking hands. She glanced up, and there it was, the yellow raincoat, hanging on her porch, dripping with rain, swaying gently in the wind. Emma's eyes widened in terror. She hadn't left it there. The figure was no longer at the corner, it was closer now. The rain whispered secrets only the night could hear, and Emma realized the woman in the raincoat wasn't just watching her from afar. She had come home. And in the storm's fury, the nightmare was only beginning.